Welcome to the show, everybody. Joseph Robert, the fantasy football counselor. In this video, we're talking about fantasy football busts. Well, actually, you can say potential fantasy football busts for 2019 at the running back position. You may want to heed my warning and probably stay away from these guys to avoid a potential bust type situation. Big episode. Let's get to it. Welcome to the show, everybody. Joseph Robert, the fantasy football counselor. We're talking potential running back bust for 2020 fantasy football. I got a list of 5 guys you might want to consider avoiding going into the 2020 fantasy football season, because if you draft them, there's a good chance they will bust. I'm going to explain exactly why that is. Before I get into this, guys, make sure you guys click subscribe to this #1 fantasy football podcast. Leave a thumbs up, and of course, comment below. Love to get your feedback. Love to get your comments and interaction below. Do you think these guys are going to bust? Would you draft them, or would you just consider drafting somebody else? Okay, I'm going to get to it. All right, so let's talk about these busts. I want to let you know I was going through some old fantasy football magazines from last year, and on the cover of one was Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, and Odell Beckham. Now, these guys were promoted as guys that were potentially going to be really top finishers. Now, Le'Veon Bell was a first-round pick. When you're looking at fantasy football running back rankings last year, Le'Veon Bell was at the end of the first-round pick. He was pretty much a top 5 to 10 running back. And again, a big part of that was because the mainstream fantasy football consensus, the consensus really genuinely believed that Le'Veon Bell would duplicate the stats he did with the Steelers, not knowing, as I warned you, he'd be a product of an offense, and the Jets weren't going to do it. So he ended up busting based on his ADP. They had Antonio Brown on the cover, and I said he's switching teams as well, guys. He's not going to do well on the Raiders. Be careful. And they also had Odell Beckham. 3 years in a row, guys, you were deceived. Now, I'm good at a lot of things, and I don't mean to toot my own horn, but my mission is that you guys win your leagues. My mission is that you guys thrive in fantasy football. So take my advice like a parent looking after their child. Now, I'm not calling you children, but when it comes to fantasy, I live and breathe this, and I really want you guys to win. Some of you guys, not all of you guys, are casual, right? So the casual fan that's kind of, poking their head here, needing that advice, I want to help you and give you guys as much information as possible because I live and breathe this. So one thing I am really good at, on top of other things when it comes to fantasy, is knowing which guys to avoid, guys that are potential busts, and avoiding certain hazardous situations. I did it years ago with Gronkowski. Again, Gronkowski was a guy that everybody was drafting in the first round. I said, stay away, guys. Rob Gronkowski's kind of injury prone a little bit. He's going to decline. Don't invest a first round pick. Yet the mainstream continues to say Gronkowski first round. And in my 16-round draft solution, I said, no, get Kittle, guys. Get George Kittle. You can get him in like the 10th round. He's going to blow up, and sure enough, he did. He dominated, okay? Same type of thing. What I'm talking here, guys, I got a lot of credibility in knowing which guys are going to decline or potential bust. Mind you, these guys could tear it up. They could be top 5 again, right? They could. But you got to look at the red flags, and that's what I'm here to warn you about. This is very important that I give you the narrative before I dive into these guys, so you just don't think it's a pie in the sky. Joe's just pulling this out of his ass. No, these are actual facts, okay? So the first guy that's going to be a potential bust going into 2020 fantasy football is Nick Chubb. So let's start off with him. Listen, he had a phenomenal year last year because for 10 weeks, he was pretty much alone. 9 weeks, he was alone, okay? Enter Nick Chubb after that. Now, enter Kareem Hunt after that, I should say. Nick Chubb wasn't alone. And in the 8 weeks they played together, this is a fact. Look it up in PPR. Now, people keep trying to dodge this and say, oh, I still believe in Nick Chubb. The coaching staff believes in him. He's going to be a beast, okay? And I get it. Nick Chubb is talented, okay? He's a pure runner. I like it. I like him, right? Talent-wise. But with Kareem Hunt, this guy was a rushing leader a couple years ago. And with Kareem Hunt coming back in, this could be, hazardous to Nick Chubb's overall, year value. Now, the mainstream consensus have him in the top 10. He's currently sitting 9th in the fantasy football running back rankings. Now, if you're looking at him as a 9th pick, that is insane. So he's definitely going to be like a first-round pick, end of first round, early second-round pick, because that's where the mainstream wants you to get him. But understand, guys, the 8 weeks that Kareem Hunt played with Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt actually outscored Nick Chubb 6 out of those 8 games in PPR. Look it up. Okay? Now, some people are saying that doesn't matter, Nick Chubb was getting more attempts. But listen, if they were splitting points, let's say Kareem Hunt, I think in one of the games had like 14 points PPR, Chubb had like 13.9 or just under 14, whatever it was. They were a point apart. Those 14 points could have gone to Nick Chubb. So Kareem Hunt's going to steal the volume. Listen, stay away from Nick Chubb. There's other players to draft that are safer, okay? You cannot draft Nick Chubb if Kareem Hunt is there. I'm warning you guys. This is a warning. And listen, if you do draft him, you're going to be paying too much. So even if he does have a good, solid year, you're still going to be paying too much with the risk that Kareem Hunt's going to be there. Anyone that tells you to draft Nick Chubb at the end of the first round or has him in the top 10 is an idiot. They should not be giving fantasy football advice. Kareem Hunt cannot be ignored, and that's the bottom line. And the fact of the matter is the proof is in the pudding. Again, I'm going to repeat this. 6 out of the 8 weeks they played together, proof of concept. History shows us that Kareem Hunt outscored him in PPR 6 out of those 8 games. You cannot ignore that and draft Nick Chubb as if he's going to be the guy that's going to be the full volume getter. You cannot do that. Heed my warning. Get off the track. Stay away from Nick Chubb. He's too expensive, and he will not replicate or duplicate, whatever you want to call it, last year's numbers. The other fantasy football bust 2020, potential bust, I should say, is Dalvin Cook. Now, I got to get right to this, guys. You guys know I hate Dalvin Cook for fantasy football. 3 years, he hasn't finished a season. Now, a lot of people are saying he had a phenomenal year last year. I understand that, but I did a whole video on why to avoid him and Nick Chubb. Go back and check that video out. I may link it here below. Listen, bottom line, he is ranked 4th right now on the consensus rankings. Stay the hell away from Dalvin Cook. He's not going to help you guys out. He is not worthy of a top 4 overall pick. A guy that hasn't finished a fantasy football season. Has not been in a fantasy football playoff. He has not been to a fantasy football playoff game, which is typically in and around, week 15 or 16, depending on how many leagues, how many weeks your league is in. He hasn't been there. He doesn't play a full season. He gets injured every goddamn year. So he played hard last year because he is a contract year. He wants to get that big mega contract, so he had to play his heart out. He had to preserve himself. He caught the ball out of the backfield a lot, ran it to the outside a lot, ran gingerly, ran out of bounds, fell down, didn't run through, he didn't power his way through runs. Listen, he played it as safe as he possibly could to get paid. And if the Minnesota Vikings decide to pay Dalvin Cook, they're idiots. And that's the bottom line. If anyone tells you Dalvin Cook's the top 4 running back, they're idiots. Draft somebody else that is safer. Go for a Saquon Barkley. Do not invest yourself into a guy that has not finished a year. Okay, that's like saying you're going to hire an employee that calls in sick every goddamn day for 3 years. You're going to give him a mega contract. Hey, hey, little Billy, welcome. You've been with the company 3 years. You've been sick every day. You come in when you feel like it. You've been at the sideline. You've had a couple flashes of greatness. Let's say it's a grocery store. You stock the shelves consistently for 2 weeks, but then you're off 5. For 3 years you've been on. But we're going to give you $100,000 a year salary, little Billy. No, it doesn't work like that. Billy doesn't deserve that big contract, and neither does Dalvin Cook. And that's the bottom line, because the counselor said so. Dalvin Cook, top 4 right now amongst running back rankings. Stay away. Next guy, I love him. Don't get me wrong. I love the talent. But Aaron Jones currently sitting 7th amongst the rankings. By the way, going back here, Dalvin Cook finished 6th last year in PPR. Nick Chubb actually ended up finishing, I believe, 8th last year in PPR. So again, guys, be cautious. The consensus are copying and pasting the rankings. Stay away. Aaron Jones finished 2nd last year in PPR. He's sitting 7th amongst the consensus rankings as of right now, mid-April. Now, this is going to change. I may do this whole video again because after the NFL draft, things are going to change. Things are going to balance out or change. Maybe Kareem Hunt gets shipped off on another team. Who knows? Things are going to change. But the reason I'm concerned about Aaron Jones is because, understand, guys, years prior to last, Aaron Jones was a safe running back. Now, where did he finish in 2018? It wasn't that good. It wasn't as good as 2019. Aaron Jones actually finished, it wasn't even in the, where was he? Top 10? I'm looking this up here. Aaron Jones, where are you? He was 24th in PPR in 2018. He had 12 games that year. In 2017, he's had an injury history in the past a little bit. The year before, I don't even know where he finished. It wasn't top 10. I can't even find him here. Aaron Jones, it wasn't top 10. Bottom line, guys, it's a throw-first team, and I think that the Packers are going to throw the ball a lot more. He hit his pinnacle last year. What do you have, like 16 touchdowns on the ground? It was absolutely insane. I don't see him hitting those numbers yet again. It's just not going to happen, guys. And Adams was banged up. Aaron Jones is going to, he's going to have to throw the ball more if these guys want to make it, deep into the playoffs and possibly win a Super Bowl. That's the bottom line. So Aaron Jones is a guy that I just don't trust. And a lot of people are going to be drafting him mid to late first round, possibly. Too expensive for me. I'm not going to pay it. All right, the next 2 guys that could be potential busts, and understand, guys, these guys could totally boom or they could totally bust. it's kind of hit or miss, but I'm leaning towards the bust trade. There's going to be safer running backs I like. I'm going to be doing a series, or not a series, but I released a bunch of videos on players that I absolutely love that are in safer positions to succeed. But the next guy that could be a potential bust after Aaron Jones is Kenyan Drake. Now, he's sitting 13th amongst the rankings. I just don't trust him. I don't trust Kenyan Drake. Trust me, there's a high ceiling. He's shown 3 amazing games of flashes of greatness, and he is a total, boom player, right? But he's also a bust player. So when you're looking at Kenyan Drake, he's a potential bust because, again, years to wow us, and we weren't wowed in Miami. So why the heck would I trust this guy in fantasy football 2020? I'm just not going to trust Kenyan Drake. There's no way in hell I trust Kenyan Drake for fantasy football 2020 because we've seen such a small window of success. So guys, heed my warning, be careful. This was a guy that had years to wow us. We weren't wowed in Miami, and now he could be a focal point. Now, Chase Edmonds could come in, steal some of that volume as well, but I don't trust Kenyan Drake fully. I'm still on the fence. Again, boom guy. If you do draft him, make sure you draft him in the second round. Obviously, that's where he's going to go, but make sure you get a solid running back in the first round, a solid running back in the third round, and put him as part of a 3-headed monster because I really don't trust him as a guy that's going to be my RB1. Because, again, there's so much volatility in years to wow us, we weren't wowed. Be cautious. A potential fantasy football bust 2020. Next guy, final guy here. Again, guys, make sure you guys smash a thumbs up here. Leave a comment below. Really curious to hear your feedback. And, of course, get the 16-round draft solution. Again, I'm really good at helping you guys avoid busts, potential busts. But this guy, be careful, Austin Ekeler. There is already talk of him being a part of a committee. I really feel that he's going to be part of a committee. I think the Chargers are going to draft someone else. He is currently sitting 12th. A lot of people are going to draft him, potentially thinking he's going to be an RB1, but this guy only had like 132 attempts last year. He finished 4th, but 132 attempts. Where he made it up was the 92 receptions for 993 receiving yards. It could happen again, trust me. But understand, guys, PPR, he's got more value, but be cautious. Again, pair him up with a 3-headed monster. Do not draft him as your sole RB1. I do not trust him because, again, years to wow us, we weren't really wowed till last year. Is that going to continue? Possibly, but be very cautious with this guy. Another guy that's going to be kind of a boom or bust kind of guy like Kenyan Drake. There's a ton of upside, don't get me wrong, but with upside comes risk, and I want you to be careful. Man, that's a lot to talk about. So Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, Kenyan Drake, Austin Ekeler. Again, there could be other guys that could bust that are higher on the consensus. Be cautious with the injury history of Chris Carson. He is great as well. Be cautious of a lot of guys. Melvin Gordon, be cautious. I think he's going to be ranked pretty high based on the name Melvin Gordon, but he's going to be in there with Lindsey, possibly Freeman. Be cautious there as well. All right, guys, leave a comment below. Do you agree with these busts? Does it make sense? But again, the main thing right now is Nick Chubb and Dalvin Cook. I'm staying away. There's safer guys to draft. They're in those super early rounds, probably round 1. Don't draft them. Again, they could boom, but I'm personally staying away. All right, guys. Appreciate you guys being here. Love you. Make sure you guys smash that thumbs up and stay tuned for the next video. And of course, watch that Fantasy Impact series as I break down individual players. You don't want to miss it. I will link it below as well. And of course, subscribe on audio. There's a link below to my website, which links you to my Spotify and of course, iTunes page. I really appreciate it. And leave that 5-star rating review on iTunes. That also means a lot. Thanks for being here, guys. And I am out.